And now my next guest is taking part in that conference in Ottawa and says that these shootings will impact all of the events at this summit. Amira El-Kawabi is a journalist, human rights advocate, and a board member of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. Hello, Amira.
Hi, Aarti.
So why don't we just start by talking about the impact that what happened in New Zealand is having on the summit underway right now?
Well, I mean, the feeling is, you can really feel it in the air. I've met with dozens of people throughout the day. I had an opportunity to have a panel discussion on the stage with sort of religious leaders and opening up to the floor and asking people to sort of express their feelings and their questions. And, the anxiety is palpable. People are wondering, how do they really talk about these issues with their children? That has been really one of the top concerns for people. Of course, many of us have already been having these conversations, but it's not feeling as though it's fulfilling the questions that children have, because frankly, adults don't have the answers. We don't really understand what would motivate someone to wreak such terror on a community like this. So it's hard for us as adults to grapple with this and to figure out how we explain to young people, and certainly the young people are around us and saying, if we belong to a religious community and we believe in God, why would God let this happen? We're hearing children asking that question. Of course they are. And we're trying to support them in being able to ask those questions and realizing that our faith can hopefully offer some solace and patience and resilience in a moment like this.
It's certainly a tough question to grapple with, especially for young people trying to understand what took place. I mean, difficult enough, as you say, for adults to understand what has happened in New Zealand and in other areas as well. What do you believe the government's role should be in helping those individuals who are at the conference today, who are asking these questions, sort of feel safer in their communities?
Well, I think there is a huge responsibility, and unfortunately, we have been in various communities, in Muslim communities, Jewish communities, Black communities, and of course there's intersections, all sorts of communities, minority, who are facing, unfortunately, a rising climate of hatred. We know in Canada that hate crimes are on the rise. We know that places of worship are frequently targeted, across various faith communities. We know that minorities, including the LGBTQ community, we know that Jewish communities, etc. I mean, the list sadly goes on, and nobody wants to have this distinction. And so we've been calling on the federal government and provincial governments as well as municipal. They really need to be putting in more resources to really having a very full-on approach to how they're going to address hatred in our communities. What we need is more resources to investigate the far right, which is on the rise, to look at how hate is being perpetuated online. We need to stop the spread of it. We need to hold the social media platforms to account, and they really can be held to account. They have a role to play in the proliferation of hate. And of course, we need to raise awareness and provide more support to communities, just for them to know what their rights are and how to report these things, so that we as a whole society are really vigilant to the types of fear and hatred and division that sadly a very tiny minority amongst us believe in, but as we've seen, they can have such a deadly impact on our communities.
And Amira, there's no question that particularly the Canadian community is seeing parallels or drawing comparisons to what happened in Quebec during that mosque shooting. What are you hearing from Canadians within your community, those who you are able to reach out to, about the sort of memories that are being stirred up with this New Zealand attack, but knowing that, it's not too far from home that we were dealing with a similar situation?
I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and both of us, just like many other people, at some point yesterday, we almost broke down. It's almost like a repeated body blow. So when Quebec City happened, it was a body blow to all of us, and many, not just Muslims, but Canadians right across this country. We were all hit by that horrible attack on the mosque when 6 people were gunned down. And so this was another body blow. We're a global world, we're a global community, and what happens far away impacts on us. And so to hear that again, it made us once more feel that vulnerability. And I myself was quite fearful to go to a mosque, even though I speak on these issues, I advocate, but I can tell you that there is a real visceral fear that goes through us when we hear these things. And we ask ourselves, how safe are we? And we thank the law enforcement for showing up and being here today, tomorrow. But the question becomes, what about a few weeks from now or a few months from now? Are we going to get commitments that, yes, we're going to do more, yes, we're all together in this, and then everyone forgets and it's us that are left feeling vulnerable? I really hope that's not what's going to happen here.